Welcome back to Miss Janine's Southern Kitchen.
Hi, how are y'all today?
Now we got a treat this time. We're going to have one of our favorites. We hadn't had it in a good while, so Mama's going to cook it. Tell us what we got, Mama.
Well, we're going to make shepherd's pie. Or that's what Ricky's mama called this, because I learned this from her. Oh, knock my pan off in the floor. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? It's all made in a skillet and one other pan. So, and then I have my three little pans here. But you don't have a whole lot of things, and then it's going to bake in the oven for a little bit. But it's actually just a meatloaf, and then it has a rice filling, and then you cut it and it looks like a pie. But I have my rice over here where I have already rinsed it off and put it in my pot with my butter. And this time I am using the measuring cup, and it is at 4 cups because I have 2 cups of rice and 4 cups of water. And of course then I got to start my burner. Well, there you go. My trusty dandy little thingy here. And we'll let that cook. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in it. And we'll let that cook while we're doing everything else. And over here I have my hamburger meat. It's maybe about a pound, maybe a pound and a half of meat. I buy my meat in the big packages and then I split it up for meals. So this one's probably about a pound and a half. I have my fixings here. I'm gonna put my salt and my pepper, which everyone does their, of course, meatloaf and things differently. I can't get that to open.
The hamburger meat or any kind of beef or hamburger meat is $6,547. So.
And I'll put some salt. And I'm going to put some ketchup in there, which I take the lid off so it doesn't squeeze.
I brought you a new pepper up.
Okay, I'll open that one in a second.
The pantry is back there where we keep everything. So.
I'll put some ketchup in it. Some Worcestershire sauce. I'll put some of that down in there. Like I said, I'm a dabber. And I always add onion powder. I'm going to cut up some onions and peppers and things and put in it. But I always do my seasonings. My garlic powder. And I usually use a little bit of Italian seasoning, but my tomatoes have Italian style stuff in them already. They have it in the can. So I'm going to mix it up and see what it looks like and smells like before I add any more Italian seasoning. Ricky doesn't really care for the Italian seasoning.
Nick.
But it makes everything taste good. But that goes into the rice when the rice comes out. I only have a few of my breadcrumbs, which they're Italian style too, so I don't want to Italian Ricky too much, so I put some bread in my toaster, and I'm just going to cut it up like you would do little croutons. And then I'll add that to my meat to make my thickener in my meatloaf. Now Ricky's mama, when she did it, my mom always used bread. And mom always wet it a little bit. And she used just regular bread. Ricky's mama used to toast hers. And then she also, if you didn't have bread, she used crackers. So, and that works good too if you crumble them up good enough. So you don't have the big hunks and things in it. I didn't moisten this time. I can put it in my pan. Let me go get me a little bit of water and put this down in it to moisten it a little bit, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I moistened it a little bit so where it's a little softer. So when I mix it up into the hamburger meat, I washed my hands while I was over there. Real home cook, she uses her hands. And but you can tell the difference now in it. It's a little softer. And then this just all goes into here also. I also crack an egg. Mystery's a good egg. I'll put him down in there. Oops. And then I'm just going to cut up a little bit of celery. The rest of the celery I'm going to cook in my pan to add to my rice when it gets finished. And then I'll add the tomatoes and everything So let me cut this little bit up and mix the rest of the meatloaf up. And while I'm cutting this up, we're going to take a little station break and we'll be right back.
All right, we're back from the station break. Mama's showing her age there. If y'all don't know, that's what they used to say on TV.
For your commercial breaks in between, which we do have. So this is my meatloaf. I cut up my celery, my onions, my bell peppers. Of course, my breadcrumbs are in there and all my things. And my hands, I just washed them. And you just mix it all together to make sure it's all nice and mixed up. My egg's down there in the bottom, so we want to make sure that goes in there good. My other peppers and onions and celery, they're cooking to go in the rice when it gets ready. And along with the tomatoes. And then that'll be a filling. I just want to get this all mixed up. And I'm going to stir those vegetables around a little bit and bring them back out of the pan. And then I'll show you how my meatloaf goes in before it gets filled with the rice. Alright, so we're back. I've got my celery, onions, and peppers cooked that I'm going to put in the rice with the tomatoes when the rice gets finished. I'm going to put my meat over in my pan. And I'm just going to squish it around to where it kind of goes up the side like it makes a pie shell. You want to get it evenly all the way around. And I take and put like my fingers around the edge to kind of make an edge in the bottom of the pan. That way it keeps it from like shrinking as much. Kind of like when you do a hamburger patty and you put a hole in the center of a hamburger patty. A homemade hamburger patty. And it stops it from shrinking up as much. Because I think this is one of those like 75-30 or something mixtures of meat. But you want all your sides to kind of be the same.
$6,547.
I don't think we paid quite that much for this one, but hamburger meat's not as bad as the other meat, steak or something. But then just poke some little holes like you do, like I said, the hamburger patty, and around the edges. And then I put this in the oven just like you would bake your meatloaf. And then when it comes out, I'll show you how I stick the rice down in it and let the rice cook with it a few minutes with a little bit of cheese on top, and then we'll be back in a minute.
A little bit of cheese.
Alright. Okay, so now we're back. And I told a little fib. I thought I had my bigger pot and I had this smaller pot, and I'm not graceful enough to mix it up in this little pan. So we're going to take this pan and pour it into this pan. So I don't flub up and put it all over everything. Okay. That's little niblets over there for Ricky to munch on while we're waiting for everything to get done.
I'm hungry.
So then I'm going to put my vegetables in it. Now you can also put some hamburger meat to the side, or cook a little hamburger meat with the vegetables, your things like that. I have done that before and put inside it. And then I'm just going to pour my tomatoes over in it. And this gets more salt and pepper. Even though those are, they said they're, you know, seasoned up, I always re-season a little bit. Just salt and pepper. And this part I learned a couple of years ago. I didn't have a lot of Worcestershire sauce, which it calls for in the meatloaf and stuff. So my steak sauce, which is like A1 steak sauce, this is just a food club brand, store brand. And if you read on the back of the bottle, it contains Worcestershire sauce. but it also has other things in it too. But when I do this, I usually mix the ketchup, the Worcestershire sauce, and everything that went into the meatloaf. But I cheat a little bit on this one. So I just pour some of this to mix up in it. That's a quick and easier way because I put everything else away and it was like, oh man. So I do that to give this part a little bit different flavor than the meatloaf itself has. And then I mix all of this up nice and neat. And then as soon as my meatloaf comes out of the oven, let me see, it was looking pretty good. So give me just a second and we'll pull that out and we'll show you how we fill it. Alright, so we're back. We went back and Ricky was my taster and he tasted, and I needed a little bit more of garlic, and then he wanted some more onion powder in it. But I forgot chili powder. I added just a little bit of chili powder to it and it gave it a little bit of a kick. And
it's good.
But then I have my pie shell, which is my meatloaf around the edge. I poured some of the excess oil off that cooked, but you want some of it in there just to keep it moist. It's almost cooked. It's around the edges. The bottom still has a little bit to go, but you don't want it to be overcooked when you put your rice in. And then I just take my rice and I just dunk it into the middle. Again, there I am a-dunking. And we just kind of fill it up. And Ricky always has to have a little bit, so I leave a little bit to the side for him because he has to munch while this is sitting in the oven. So he always gets a little dab.
I'm hungry.
I did read all the comments, and I noticed when I cut the cornbread, I did not give him that piece of cornbread. I do apologize, but he did taste the cornbread dressing before it went in the oven. So, and then I let that go like that, and then I just have cheddar, mild cheddar cheese. You can put whatever kind of cheese you want in here. Oh, get the Parmesan out for me. I forgot it. It needs to go on top. He's by the stove, and so I don't knock the thing off. Can you see it? Should be on the bottom. The economy size.
Yowza, Miss Daisy.
Our kids eat a lot of Parmesan cheese, even though they don't live here anymore right now. The grandbabies like it, and so whenever we have to keep them here or they're here, I still keep a lot of Parmesan cheese. And I sprinkle a little of that on first. And then Ricky usually puts some back himself later. But I put that down first, and then I put my shredded cheese. Now, if you like mozzarella cheese or provolone cheese or any of those other kind of cheeses, you can put whatever kinds you want on top. I don't put it all at one time just because it starts to melt and then it'll burn a little bit before I got it where I want it to be. Alright, so that's going to go in the oven for a few more minutes. I'm going to let Ricky have his little snack, and then we'll bring it back when it comes out. So we are back, and we have our shepherd's pie. We're going to cut it up. While we were gone, I did some canned biscuits in the oven and some green beans. You can put whatever sides you want with it, corn or mac and cheese or whatever your youngins will eat, or your significant other, your better half will eat. Ricky likes green beans, so I did the green beans. But so we're going to cut this up. And this is a very expensive meal. It's not just your hamburger meat. Of course, I'm just cutting this little piece to start with. He's going to have a bigger piece than that. But as long as I cut all the way through it. It's just your cheese, which I always have cheese on hand anyway. Parmesan cheese. And I always have rice. And of course my other vegetables. And then it comes out like a slice of pie.
Oh, buddy.
Whoop. Set it on the plate right there. Which I left some of your meatloaf down here in the bottom, so we will get it. Gotta get it down in there.
Get it all.
Get all of it. But I hope you enjoy this recipe. This is something my kids ate a lot growing up. Mama always said, and Ricky's mama, as long as you can have a good meal before payday, that makes your life a whole lot easier. Doesn't have to be a steak and a baked potato. It can be anything that's hearty and that fills your belly. That just makes your husband or your wife, whoever's going out and bringing in the pay, just makes them feel better to know that they're eating good all the way up until payday. So I hope you enjoy this. And again, this is just my take on a shepherd's pie. And we'll see you next time.
As always, can I eat it now?
Yes, you can eat now.
Thank you, Mommy.